Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, Bar Rescue fans. I scared you with that one, Steven, didn't I? Kevin Undergaro here for Bar Rescue Season 4, Episode 23, entitled It's Always Sunny in Portland. And after last week, which was just a little bit of a downer of an episode and a little bit we were just a little off kilter. You know, it's still good, but definitely not up to the usual Bar Rescue par. However, we're back this week. This was a 10, firing on all cylinders. I got very emotional at a couple of different points, which I'll get into. But it was great. It involved family. It involved a terrific renovation, and as usual, I don't know how 100 episodes in. John and the producers are still finding ways to educate us and to change the format, which I'll go into. So, good stuff. The bar is called the 6 Point Inn, and it's owned by a stepfather, Oleg, and his stepdaughter, Sunny. Oleg apparently has, we get from the episode that he's got 2 other bars and many other businesses, construction and otherwise. And Sonny, who was a bartender, he kind of gave her this to run. Very interesting because John brings Oleg in the car for recon, which again, I love when we, get away from the traditional format. Now we have seen that before. We've seen in other episodes, and I believe it was a parent he did the same thing with. He brought a parent in, a dad, to watch his kids. So it was a callback to that, but this was interesting because I thought for sure Oleg was going to be all in the right and the daughter was going to be all in the wrong, as it was in the previous time we saw the parents do the sit-ins in the car. But maybe not so much. Maybe that wasn't the case, and of course it wasn't. Oleg is sitting with John, and they're watching Sonny micromanage and kind of yell at people. They're seeing some sloppiness in the kitchen with Chef Sal, or Cook Sal, who is a terrific character. We also learned, just to backtrack, we're $1 million in debt and we're losing $3,000 a month. In addition, I loved the fact that for recon, John sends in 3 restaurant bloggers and bar bloggers. 3 guys in the Portland area who it seemed like they had over 100,000 followers collectively. And it got me thinking that where John is totally doing everything he can to set these guys up for success, I'm wondering now if Bar Rescue, if the show shouldn't do that more. Embrace we've seen them embrace the press before, but I'm wondering if embracing the press or embracing people in social media more won't really help stack the deck in terms of, reviews, Yelp, things like that. 8 out of 10, if not 9 out of 10 times, those people are going to come in and be wowed by what John does. So I think it's something they may want to use more because it certainly is going to help the bar. But I thought it was great, needless to say, that they used it on this. When Oleg's telling the story of his stepdaughter and how much he loved her, and apparently it seems like he was really the dad who raised her from all intents and purposes. And you see pictures of him and the daughter. And she had blonde hair and was a lot thinner. I feel like she probably was a lot happier That's usually a sign. She was a lot happier until she got into the crazy bar business, and maybe she's at this point let herself go a little bit and quit a little bit on life because she's so overwhelmed, and which, as we learn, we necessarily can't blame her. Once John comes into the bar with Oleg to confront Sonny, a different picture is painted. And we find out that, sure, she's micromanaging, she's lost, she's a chicken with her head cut off. But Oleg's done nothing or very little to educate her. Literally not answering his phone when there's major problems. And John ends up now turning on Oleg and saying, I find that offensive. If I had a daughter, I wouldn't be doing this. And the back and forth fighting, and then a really hurtful comment comes out of Oleg saying, well, maybe it's because I'm the stepfather and not the father. And that obviously was a very, I would think, would have to be a very painful statement. John takes a step back and says, listen, he's going to drop his disappointment in her and she's going to drop her resentment. And I think he realizes that, like with all these rescues, that's what he has to fix in addition to fixing the bar. But it's interesting how much, Stephen, how much do I say here? How important is education? Or at least, I don't know, maybe you don't hear it from me as much, but like Phil hears it from me all the time when he has problems with the staff. And even sometimes with you, I say, educate him, teach him. We just had an incident, 10 minutes ago. That was about, we have some company vehicles here. There was a fender bender. It's going to cost us a lot of money. I didn't care about the fender bender, but it was about educating you guys about the process that you go through with insurance and the proper channels. But aren't we always talking about education here, Stephen?
Always.
And you guys, as managers, have to do the same and educate your staff. And 9 out of 10 times, education will be the solution. My friend Andrew Lee, he owns Jerry Lee Clothing. They do all the clothing for Disney. He's been a great mentor to me. And like John, and in fact, John and Andrew know each other. But his dad, who's 91, 92, he always said to me, he's like, I don't believe in firing people. I believe in education. And that always stuck with me. He's a super successful guy. And to me, looking at Sunny, she definitely was micromanaging. She was reacting. She was sweating a lot of the micro details. And I know this is going to sound chauvinistic, but I feel like with women, they sweat the micro and guys sweat the macro. And both sides need to, when we're at our best, we're able to find balance, both men and women. But again, what I find good was that she has the heart to say, well, this is a dirty glass. And this is, she's pointing out different things. But if she were properly educated to put that energy into managing the bar properly, we'd have success. I mean, her heart's in the right place. She doesn't, we've seen people sit at the bar and do nothing while their staff, makes a mess or whatever. I mean, this isn't the case. She's trying. But again, not properly educated on how to lead, what systems to put in place, big picture mentality, which I know it's hard sometimes for women, I feel, because they do sweat the minutia more than men. And that, by the way, that is a good thing too. It really is. Where guys are the ones who are slobs and kind of let things slack. In general, I know there's exceptions. Anyway, he brings in experts, and of course, we bring in Phil Wills. God, I love that guy. Stephen, you're shaking your head, right?
No, I'm nodding.
No, you're nodding.
I'm nodding. Yeah, Phil's great.
He's amazing. And then we bring in Chef Pink. Now, Chef Pink, who I've met once, but we really didn't converse. And I've seen her on the shows, but maybe I've gotten carried away with some of the other characters. But this was her episode as far as one of the support people goes. We saw Mia really be a star a couple of weeks ago. We've seen some of the other people be stars. This was hers. And I'll tell you, it was a perfect match. I don't know if it was John's call or the producer's call, but if Stephen, are you familiar with the Portland area?
Not really, no.
It's almost like a more more blue collar version of San Francisco, and maybe more hetero, if that's even politically correct of me to say. It's just very artistic, and so the way she's got all the tattoos all over her, and she's also into fresh fare and local produce and local fare.
I don't know if it's PC, like the hipster culture, like it's very
exactly that's it. It's very much the hipster culture. So it's like if there's anyone who could go and know what to do up there, it'd be Chef Pink. Plus, she's into the local fare, which again, that's a very Portland thing.
Anti-GMO, all sorts of things like that.
So he brought in the all-star crew, just tailor-made perfect for this episode. The problem, Phil Wells is. I'll get into like the lighter stuff. Phil Wells sees them muddling with ice and fruit in a jar together. Yeah, or even Stephen, that's not proper.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you want to muddle, as he says, you want to muddle the fruit separately for the oils and the everything to properly be crushed and join forces together, and then introduce it to the drink, rather than doing it with the fruit and ice. Fruit and ice, which then it's more water, and then you're adding more water and then more mix and more drink solution to it. So it's just not a good thing. So he works with them, and by the way, we've got two really sweet bartenders, Teresa and Tanya. I'm sorry, I can't read my own writing. Anyway, they're very sweet. I thought from the beginning they'd be more involved in the episode, but they weren't. They were very sweet. They were very accommodating. They were learning. I know there was a guy in a Hawaiian shirt. I'm sorry, I forget his name. But Phil's got them under control. Flip the switch and go into the kitchen, and Sal says it seems like he's overwhelmed. Chef Pink, you can tell she's a big-hearted soul, so she's immediately saying, "Hey, let me help." And he's like, nope. And you see him kind of almost slapping her hand away. And then finally he just blurts out, "Women don't belong in the kitchen." Oh boy. Now, so of course, this is a recipe for disaster, because nobody has more respect for women than John. Nobody's more protective of women than John. So I was like, oh my God, he didn't just say that. And then, by the way, to any good misogynist, so if a woman doesn't belong in a kitchen, Stephen, even to the worst like misogynist there is, where does she belong? Just in bed?
I don't know. There's a.
So what? She's in bed for a couple hours and that's it?
You ever see Sledgehammer?
No.
It's an old cop show in the 80s where Sledge is a really big misogynist. It's like, oh, you want all women to be barefoot and pregnant? It's like, no, I encourage wearing more shoes. It's like, it's a really, like, even that,
so,
like,
so they can't even be in the kitchen and cook for me?
Yeah, like, what are you talking about?
Anyway, I was like, oh my God, we're in for it. I just knew, like, this is just no pun intended, a recipe for disaster. So, and we see that Sonny is micromanaging behind the bar or whatever, but John gets everyone out together to address them. And we learn that this place, Stephen, does 30% of its food sales before noon. So kind of another bar rescue first. We've never seen a strong breakfast environment. And I know a lot of these sea towns have fishermen, or they're very blue collar. And I remember even in Boston, there were bars that would open at 6 a.m. Mm-hmm. And you would go in there, right? And I used to like wheel in food or whatever, whatever reason I'd be in there for work. It was always work related. Bringing the trucks in to deliver food or product or produce to them. But 6 a.m, guys would be drinking and smoking. I mean, if you turned your back to the windows, you would think it was 11 o'clock at night. It was the most trippy thing to see. But there's a big culture that does that. And like I said, maybe because you're around fishermen or you're just a blue-collar town.
Well, it sounds like they're on a good location if people are going there instead of like a Denny's or something like
They
that.
said that I think it said they're 2 miles away from any other food. So, and even the outside of the place, it looks more like an East Coast kind of 3-family house than it doesn't look like a traditional. It doesn't look like a traditional commercial property, but that I know is very indicative of Portland. And it was, of course, an ugly colored green and just a little a small sign. And again, 6 Point Inn really says more.
Bed and breakfast then.
Than bar. So anyway, we're moving back over to Sal. He tells John he's really big on his biscuits and gravy, his chicken biscuits and gravy. And the bloggers have already given this a thumbs down. And it's just a sauce that he microwaves because he's like, I can't keep it in a pot all day because it'll go to waste. So, again, like we're seeing he's got heart in the right place. He's just very proud. He's very proud and he's very reactionary. And he says, my gravy doesn't change. And of course, John was like, you're going to learn to say yes to me for the next 4 days. Like I'm the boss. That's how it's going to go. And then next thing you know, there's a blowout between Chef Pink. She's kind of held it all in since the recon, where he said no women in the kitchen. And these two have a blowout. And I can't tell if Chef Pink pushed him first or she pushed him, but it got physical between the two of them, screaming at each other. And she was like, I am a 4-star chef. I've studied in Paris. How dare you? And then he's screaming back at her and screaming. Really was ugly. Then the next thing you know, they're separated. And I said, God, where's this episode going to go? And sure enough, he came back over and he said, I have to learn how to control my temper. And I really just liked. I really like how Chef Pink handled him, because instead of at that moment talking down to him, where I've seen a lot of these experts, they kind of don't let up, so the person comes back with their tail between their legs, and then it's just like, well, you better know that I'm the boss these next 4 days. What I liked about Chef Pink, or maybe because she's a bit of maybe because she's a misfit herself, and we misfits tend to be, I know it's hard to believe, maybe I am one, but I am. We tend to be more sensitive to other people because of it. And what I liked about it is she really talked to him on his level. I was like, you know what? I lost my temper too, and I get it. I get having pride, and I get it, and I get basically caring so much about something that you do go this crazy, and I get it. Let's work together and make this amazing. And I was just like, wow. And I got I got tearful. It was beautiful to see, because I think we see tons of reactions in the world, especially today more than ever, where like, God, everyone has to win and everyone has to get the last word and everyone has to tell off the other person and crush the other person. Media or on comment boards or just even in person or at a stoplight. To me, I just get super emotional when I see people do that, but then because that we're not going to get around that, but then come together and be like, hey, you know what, I was an idiot. Yeah, I was an idiot too. Let's put it behind us. It was just a really nice moment, and I'm a huge Chef Pink. I am a huge fan of yours. Huge. So, and as we're going on, not only do we learn about muddling, so we learned muddle science, but we learned burger science, Stephen.
I like burgers.
Yeah, well, what we learned is the more items you add onto a burger, right?
It's, what is that freaking term? I can't think of it. It's when the more you add on, the less it really.
That's right, because you have your background from your Chili's, right? So
yeah, but the same goes for graphic design and everything. It's the more you do, the less it matters. And it's not really worth it in the end.
No, that's actually not the case.
No.
This is very interesting. So much like John said, again, I swear to God, I learned everything about business from this show. And I tell anyone who's in any kind of business, a small business, this is the show to watch. Even big business, this is the show to watch. You learn so much. But John was saying a couple of weeks ago how even for decoration, the more textures you have, it's proven that you'll make more money.
Yeah.
So same goes with the burger.
Really?
The more like fun and this and that, you increase the value of the burger. So he creates this amazing breakfast burger with an egg on top of the burger. And that makes the burger price jump from $7 to $9. The egg costs 20 cents. Really smart. I never knew. So it's interesting, again, this Bar Rescue, man, just 100 episodes in, and we're learning new things. We're breaking format, and we're learning new things.
I have to say, though, that whole thing where we learned probably, I don't know how many episodes ago, where it was like the texture things.
Mm-hmm.
I walk into hotels, and I notice that now. Like,
Yep.
I walk in, and if you go to iPick Theaters, the first thing you notice is one wall is really rigid, then you have the curtain, then you have the smooth
Right.
marble, and then you have the kind of netting kind of
That's
stuff.
right. So there's 4 features there.
Yeah, already. And hotels are the same way, and you'll notice it in every fine dining restaurant you go to now. You're like, whoa.
Right. And so we're rebuilding our studios, and because of Bar Rescue, I'm applying this same philosophy. I want acrylics. I want stainless steel. I want all these different layers. I want
Well, I looked at Access
a laughing
Hollywood.
plaster.
You look at Access Hollywood's sets. When they design the sets, you can see they have, okay, the color blocks, then we want a different texture here,
Right.
and then we want something
They've
underneath.
got brick. They've got,
Yeah.
like we have right here. We have the brick and stuff like that
Exactly.
too. But yeah, it's again, thank you, Bar Rescue. See, a lot of the stuff, these kind of secrets, they're not really taught. And maybe they're taught at some of the finer institutions, maybe, but a lot of these things just, they're not. So it's just great that this information is getting out there. And I almost laugh now when I talk to people who have passion for the bar industry, whether they're bartenders or waiters or bar owners, and they don't know the show. And by the way, it's a very small number. Most people in the business do. But I was at a very high end, my lawyer's 50th birthday party, and he's probably the biggest entertainment attorney in LA. So you can imagine how prestigious the party was. And I was surprised that the bartender, who was a good bartender, didn't know the show. And I said, dude, is this your passion? He goes, yeah, it's my life. I go, well, I got a little show that you required in your syllabus. You have to be watching Bar Rescue.
And Kevin's the kind of guy who goes to a party and talks to the bartender,
Yeah,
and there's all this
I
prestigious
talked to him
piece.
all night. Oh my God. Well, I was watching the techniques and stuff like that. We were talking about, again, it's bartending, and I've probably brought it up to Mia before, but it's taken the next step of mixology where like bums like me who did it for a couple of years could never, ever make the grade today. I mean, it's gone to such another level of artistry. If you've noticed, Stephen, your generation going out, the mixology aspect,
Yeah,
the
it's like-
garnishings,
If pouring like if making in Manhattan's like geometry, bar science and what they do in the mixology is like college level calculus
Right.
mixed with statistics and
Right.
stuff. Yeah, you're like, I don't know what's
But
going
it's
on.
cool. I like it. I love evolving, and I love it. I personally, I wouldn't have the ability to do it, but it's great to see. But I'm always fascinated when I see it, and I'm also I just love anyone who has passion for their job or their work, or So we said, God, like as this unfortunately in society is not a lot. I mean, well, we suffer from a little bit of maybe not having as much passion, or at least not passion for the right things. Needless to say, work. So when we do the stress test, it was, again, the stress test went very long, and this stress test had a lot of things happen that I've never seen before. We introduced these thumbs up stickers. So every table that liked their service or their food would place a thumbs up sticker, and then tables that didn't put the thumbs down sticker. So it's very interesting, something different. Sunny, it starts out, she's yelling at everybody, and she's like, we're out of ice, we're out of ice. And the poor father has to run across the street, and then you see him like running back in, carrying all these ice bags, and he goes up to the ice chest, and there he sees a full ice chest in the ice machine out back, full of ice. I have to say, like, I laugh because that's happened 100 times to me with employers. It's just like, wait, we just... But, again, she's sweating the macro. She's not properly educated, So one of her staff said, "We're out of ice," meaning maybe they're out of the ice in the front service bar, but
Instead of looking,
she took it right that we're out of the ice in the ice machine. Again, if she's educated and her staff is properly educated, these are the things that just don't happen anymore. It's kind of funny. Back in the kitchen, we're not done with Sal. So Sal, he's made his peace with Pink, but unfortunately, he's burning the burgers. And maybe he's the guy, because he's a cook and not a chef, he has his personal taste as a well-done burger, so therefore that's what everyone's going to get. Or maybe it's just pride when John confronts him and says, this is burnt. And he just feels that need to say, no, it isn't. Again, he's got a temper. He reacts. He's got pride. He's a guy, so I've ridden the girls, but guys, it's like awful. Most guys, it's like the testosterone, and, they get in the pissing contest. Anyway, we see it in this moment. And John and him scream at each other. They're screaming so loud that it's totally inaudible. And this guy's defending the fact that he's got a burnt burger. And then John figures out, usually it was funny, I was like, I wonder if John was going to say he's going to get fired. But see, John's so good at what he does that he knew the guy had heart. And he knew the locals liked coming in and getting this guy's breakfast. So, I swear, we got to get John to run for mayor, or at some point I got to get him to run for president. Because, rather than react himself and fire this guy, he makes lemonade out of it. He doesn't go to Oleg. He goes to Sonny and says to her, you have to fix this. He knows Sal is an important component to the restaurant, so you can't lose him. And he knows that Sonny lacks leadership, management, right? And he goes to her, and he knows that she's a woman, and she's sensitive, and she's going to be able to kind of stroke this guy's back and calm him down and kind of pull the thorn from his paw, which now empowers her to feel good about herself, like, hey, I can do this, where she's been down in the dumps, and like I said, it looks like she's let herself go. And this gives her a single, like she hits a single, like, hey, I can do this. So sure enough, that's exactly what happens. Mm-hmm. She says, come on, let's see big picture. We really need this. And what I love about this guy, Sal, and I guess maybe because it's me, because I've been stupid and reacted like this guy 1,000 times, and I wish I could say I won't anymore. I do it a lot less, but still, we've been there. And he's like, you know what? Okay, I'll get back in there. So during the stress test, this is what I'm saying about being different. Normally a stress test is a disaster, and we get the infamous, that's it, shut it down, from John. We don't get that. This guy talks to Sonny. Sal goes back in the kitchen, works with Chef Pink, and starts turning out these delicious burgers. It's amazing. And we now start getting some thumbs up on the tables. Over at the bar, Sonny comes in, calms back down, and really, is more supportive of the bartenders, and they start getting the drinks out. So it's not a shut it down. It's more like, hey, you know what?
Rough night.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Please hang in with us. We're going to get to our renovations. And everyone leaves. And so it wasn't the usual stress test, which is the disaster, and then we have to come to Jesus and the recon, and and then the, not the recon, but the reconstruction. But this was different, and that's why I love the show. It's like they don't stick to, and I love what Kitchen Nightmares did. I think it was my gateway drug to Bar Rescue, but they always stuck to the same thing. Like 99% of the episodes, Gordon he takes his first bite of the food and then has to spit it out into a napkin, no matter what.
Yeah.
Except for the crazy Israeli couple. He actually complimented her pastry, which I thought was great. It was like he threw, but for the most part, it was cooking. And probably because it was to be fair to those guys, it was the first of these kind of shows, and so that formula worked and they stuck to it. But I like on this show how we took all of it to the next level, the renovations to the next level, but they also aren't afraid to get away from the formula. So we had I think our first Bar Rescue successful stress test. And I got even more emotional because when he brings everyone together, John said, you know what, we had our problems, he tells Chef Sal, but we finished strong, and I'm proud of you. And it was just like a great moment. It was like John can't really be on his level like Chef Pink was able to do. So he was just far enough above him, but not enough to knock him out. You know what I mean? To knock him out. He was gracious with him and sweet. And the guy the results, speak for themselves. Like he probably felt like he was 10 feet tall. But man, I can't say enough the fact that we always say bad things in reactions in life. Like we always say the stupidest things. The father saying, I'm just, okay, it's maybe because I'm your stepfather. I mean, how many times in life, Stephen, have you just said to your parents, your girlfriends, your brother, your family members, your friends, you're just mad in the moment and then you say the stupidest line to hurt their feelings, right? But then when you come back, if you calm down, you go, oh, that's really not what I meant. I mean, this stepfather and daughter, like, he bought her a business. Obviously, he doesn't feel like I'm not her father. I mean, he doesn't feel like that. And this chef, this cook, didn't feel like women don't belong in my kitchen. He just was insecure in the moment and frustrated and embarrassed. And he said some soup. So anyway, we're always going to have that in life. It's just nice that the way all the parties kind of, including the bar rescue staff, came together and were forgiving and then accepted their own shortcomings and understood that those were just words. It didn't really accurately reflect how people felt. I don't know. The show always just blows me away because I feel like there's so much in here. But
I just like that they actually understand that on the show, because when you look at life in general, people say one thing wrong nowadays, and it ruins their career and completely ruins.
We say it all the time in our house. People today are into moral outrage, not so much into morality. So everybody wants to bring out the pitchfork and light the torch and hang people. And again, with social media and just everyone now is just deputized to say, you see the cruelest things being said to people. But I guess that's a different from what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just the reacting, I mean, even me, sometimes someone cuts me off and the first thing I want to do is like give them the finger and then keep taking that to the next level. And then but then we come down like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Like, this person didn't have a voodoo doll in their bedroom saying, oh, today I'm going to see this guy, Kevin, and I'm going to cut him off and I'll show him. Yeah, it's like, we all do it. It's just really nice to see it all come around again. All about leadership, all about education, and John's leadership and his staff. It just resonates down. And it was nice that these people all responded to it, because we see so many ungrateful people who are part of the show, and so many weirdos and so many just assholes and addicts. It was nice that everyone was struggling, but they all got on the same page, at least at this point. We go into what drinks we're going to do. Some amazing coffee drinks. Again, genius. I don't know if that's Phil Wills or John. I'm probably thinking it's John. But because you're a breakfast, you do so great in breakfast, like smart coffee drinks. And then, again, speaking of our early point, they're adding like a donut ball garnish to the top, because why? Garnishes add more value to the drink, right? Just for the same other reasons about the burger. And we're going to do a chicken fried steak open face sandwich, which was just unbelievable. And I like how more and more we're seeing John and his cap, his baseball hat, in the early stages of the demolition and renovation. And I've met the lady. Now we've seen her in 3 or 4 episodes. I've met her personally, and I want to give her a shout out. I don't know her name, who's helping John with the renovations. Like, I know from the 2 episodes I did, John is micromanaging all of the renovations, but I have to give this lady credit for these magnificent renovations and the speed that they happen. And next week I'll have her name, and if any of you guys know it, feel free to comment on YouTube or on iTunes or tweet at us and let me know. But I'll try to find out next week. But one thing you hear mentioned is like, listen, we need a lot of natural lighting because breakfast, because breakfast is so important here. So just kind of interesting. And we have we unveil the new place, and the name is Over Easy Bar and Restaurant. It's perfect. And they look like a brown color / natural paint on the outside. Mm-hmm. Bigger sign. I mean, really cleaned this place up and made it feel like a great local breakfast place / bar.
What were the hours of operation? In
the back of my head, I was saying to myself, man, these people are working late. But I don't know how late it goes, if it goes traditionally to the 2 a.m. I don't know. I don't know. Because that didn't come into play story-wise. But the first thing I thought of was like, oh, my God, like, no wonder why she's like let herself go, because usually when you're working those long hours, and you know that from working here, Stephen, it's really hard to take care of yourself. So maybe that's also a factor. John, this renovation was fantastic. And again, I hate to just keep gushing, but so many levels of genius. I thought, okay, they put in a second bar station, fine. That's rudimentary. They had one. You couldn't operate a bar with just one. But he puts in an orange dispenser, big plexiglass orange display with you see the oranges, and they kind of fall down a chute, and they go into a machine, because why? You're going to want to have the greatest and freshest orange juice for breakfast. He also has a coffee machine with fresh roasted coffee on a daily basis, but that's also illuminated. Very big display. And he moves the pool tables. The pool tables were in front of the window before. And John was like, no, when people dine, and especially breakfast, they want to be near windows. They want a view, they want light. So John moves the pool tables into the back in the dock area. He creates a separation, a little kind of a stand-up, not a buffet, but
like a
counter or bar.
Pass through.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, where if you were playing pool, Steven, you'd put your beer on it.
Yeah.
You know what? It's something like that. But what it did was it created a separation. So now you've got your pool guys who are just drinking, playing pool, watching TV, great. And then the other part is you're having your breakfast, you're having your dinner, and you're sitting down. And then, of course, you have the bar. I just noticed when they were prepping for the reopening, she says, when running low, make sure you give me a heads up. And I think that's a callback to the ice. But now she's starting to think big picture. She's not just in the moment saying, what do you mean we ran out? We're not, that would be probably what she'd be like before. Wait to run out of something, then yell at the person. But now she's saying, hey, guys, give me a heads up when we're running low, and I'll restock you. So, again, it's just she's been educated, and she's educating her people. The bloggers come in. Of course, they give us a thumbs up. So now 100,000 people in Portland find out how great the place is. So really smart. And the Chef Sal moment with Pink just, again, was so touching. And again, so I love you, Chef Pink. She said to him, she shakes his hand and says, it's been an honor, and I'm so proud.
Dang.
It was just so good. And John, as he says off camera, he says on camera that the best feeling he ever gets is not just rescuing a bar, but rescuing the people. And in this case, he said rescuing a family is best of all. Bar revenue is up 30%, food up 65%, and went to bar rescue updates, and it's perfect. Like 3 great reviews. Like there was one reviewer said, oh, I didn't like the way the lady mixed a drink. I mean, okay, typical hater. But it was one of the best updates that I've seen in a while. And it looks like everything's going well for them. And like I said, I mean, Steven, you didn't see the episode, but are you getting the impression that this was a good one?
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
It's like, it was awesome. So, next week, just briefly, and I'll just do this for sake of spite because they've always been good to us over there. They're doing King Tut Week. And they must be doing a King Tut movie.
There's a TV show on Spike coming.
It's a TV series
called Tut.
Copy
and it's
that.
got Ben Kingsley and the guy from Twisted. I can't remember his
Okay,
name.
so 2 of the actors from the show are coming in to do recon next week on Bar
man.
Rescue. And there's contaminated foods, and you see John, like, just the usual storm out of the SUV. That's it, I'm going in. But that'll be fun. Like it's a little bit of a fun change-up. So anyway, you guys, we're going to have to start wrapping this up and getting us out of here. If you want to, again, go to YouTube, find and comment on our YouTube page. If you want to go to iTunes and you're listening to us on audio, feel free to comment as well. You can find me at Undergaro. And I don't know if I'm going to continue to be at an empty table. I'm hearing Mia is available next week to come in. But thank you for your patience in dealing with me alone. And I don't know. I'm excited for next week, and I'm feeling so good about this season again. And thank you so much for your patience. And please keep your comments coming. Keep listening and watching to AfterBuzz TV and Bar Rescue.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.